Tonight, when you turn off the light, darkness is a choice for you. A small button is enough to make the world bright again. But let us be honest with ourselves. Despite all these amenities, we have become strange creatures. 30,000 years ago, our caveman cousins slept on a few pieces of animal skin next to a small fire, in a place where the sound of hyenas could be heard from the surrounding darkness. He would wake up in the middle of the night, sit by the fire for a few minutes, listen to the sound of the wind, and go back to sleep. Yet today, we sleep on orthopedic mattresses, doors are locked, cameras are on, and our mobile phones are next to the bed. Nevertheless, sometimes a tiny sound or a simple thought can steal hours of sleep from our eyes. Why? What has changed in our relationship with the night? And more importantly, what did early humans actually do during those long hours of darkness? For a vast part of human history, there was no choice or button to escape the darkness. The night did not turn off. The night simply began. For hundreds of thousands of years after sunset, humans entered a world that they neither controlled nor fully understood. A world without artificial light, with no guaranteed security, and without this simple certainty of being able to see. In such a world, the night was not a pause during the day, but a complete ecosystem. An ecosystem in which man was forced to cooperate, think, and create meaning in order to survive. Imagine a small flame burning in the middle of a dark plain. Behind that flame, a child is asleep. A few meters away, in absolute darkness, the eyes of a hyena gleam. The distance between these two worlds is just a few pieces of burning wood. For early humans, fire was not merely a tool, it was a border between security and death. Archaeological evidence in sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa shows that humans had learned the controlled use of fire hundreds of thousands of years ago. But the real importance of fire was not that it cooked food or warmed the body. Fire was humanity's first technology to change the experience of the night. For the first time, man was able to push back part of the darkness and create a small realm of security. Inside the light, the world was visible and familiar. Outside the light, the world still belonged to the unknown. In the darkness outside, an individual was weak and vulnerable alone, but within the group, they became defensible. To survive, humans were forced to sleep next to one another, keep the fire burning, and assign guard shifts. Some researchers believe that these small glowing circles were the very first foundation for the formation of sustainable social trust, a place where man learned that individual survival is not enough, and real security is the product of group cooperation. One of the most amazing findings of modern anthropology is that human behavior during the day and night is completely different. Polly Weissner, an American anthropologist, spent years recording the conversations of the Juhowansi hunter-gatherers in the Kalahari. She noticed that during the day, most conversations are practical and related to survival, about hunting, food, tools, and daily matters. But at night, around the fire, suddenly everything changes. Conversations shift towards stories, myths, memories, jokes, and collective narratives. Why? Because night is the time when the body distances itself from physical activity, and the mind enters a different state. In this condition, humans began to construct narratives of past hunts, of the dangers they had left behind, of the future, and gradually, narratives about the world itself. This is precisely the point that many researchers consider the beginning of abstract social thought. Storytelling was not just entertainment. Stories allowed humans to transfer their experiences into the minds of others. To put it simply, the night became the first school of humanity. But perhaps the strangest point is that early humans probably did not sleep as much as we imagine. Studies conducted on today's hunter-gatherer societies have shown that their average sleep is often between 6 to 7 hours a night, almost identical to many modern humans. So the secret of their nightlife was not in longer sleep. The difference lay in the quality of their relationship with the darkness. For them, night was not simply a time to turn off. Night was a part of life. A part of the time for conversation, for tending the fire, for watching the sky, and for thinking. They spent long hours under a sky that we almost never see. Today, light pollution in many cities of the world has become so great that millions of people cannot even see the Milky Way. But for our ancestors, the Milky Way was not an amazing astronomical phenomenon. It was the sky itself, a massive ribbon of light stretching above their heads every night, becoming a part of daily life. And perhaps this constant confrontation with the grandeur of the sky was one of the reasons that drove the human mind toward larger questions. In the absence of light, the human brain is forced to reconstruct the world. Shadows take shape, sounds seem louder, and the mind begins to fill in the blanks. This particular cognitive state provided a suitable bed for the formation of myths, collective beliefs, and humanity's first attempts to explain the world. Many researchers believe that the roots of religion, philosophy, and mythology can be traced back to these long nights. But perhaps the strangest part of the story is yet to come. Today, we consider sleep a continuous 7 or 8 hour process, but this pattern is a product of the modern world. A historian named Roger E. Kirk, by examining recollection of hundreds of historical documents, from letters and court files to medical texts and classical literature, reached an unexpected discovery. In many pre-industrial societies, humans did not sleep in one single stage. They would first sleep for about 3 to 4 hours. Then they would wake up. They would spend 1 to 2 hours in a calm wakefulness, and then they would go back to sleep until morning. In many historical documents, there are even terms equivalent to first sleep and second sleep. For our ancestors, waking up in the middle of the night was not a disorder, but a natural part of life. The secret to this matter lies partly in a hormone called melatonin. Today, the light from screens, televisions, and artificial lights delays the secretion of melatonin. But in natural darkness, the human body begins producing melatonin much earlier and keeps it at a high level for a longer period, a condition that is rarely experienced today due to artificial light. In 1992, Thomas Ware placed a group of volunteers in conditions close to natural darkness for several weeks. The result was astonishing. Their bodies automatically returned to that very same two-phase sleep pattern, as if an ancient program had been reactivated. But more important than the sleep itself was the quality of that nightly wakefulness. Participants described a feeling of deep peace, mental stillness, and a state close to meditation. The levels of certain hormones associated with calmness also increased during this period. For this reason, some scientists believe that the midnight wakefulness was not merely a gap between two sleeps. Rather, it was a different state of consciousness, a state that has become an unfamiliar experience for many modern humans. Perhaps in the process of building cities, factories, and electricity grids, we have also left something behind. Not just the darkness, but a specific type of connection with the darkness. With the advent of artificial light, the night did not change. Its definition changed. Fires turned into lamps, lamps into bright streets, and streets into cities that almost never sleep. We lit up the night, but at the same time, we also altered part of our own natural rhythm. The decrease in melatonin, the disruption of the circadian rhythm, and lower sleep quality are only a part of these changes. But fortunately, we can still bring part of this rhythm back into our lives. There are two simple things supported by both today's science and the logic of our ancestors' lives. First, a few hours before sleep, dim intense white lights and use warmer, softer lights. Second, in the morning after waking up, expose yourself to natural daylight for a few minutes so that the body's biological clock resets. Simple actions that might help our bodies harmonize once again with a rhythm that has accompanied them for hundreds of thousands of years. It may be strange, but our ancestors spent a few hours every night in a state that has almost been eliminated from our lives today. Hours between waking and sleeping, between silence and thought, between darkness and dreams. They slept under a sky where the Milky Way was a normal part of it, around a fire that was considered the center of their universe, and lived in a darkness that we now rarely experience. Perhaps this is why we sometimes wake up in the middle of the night for no reason, and for a few moments, without knowing why, feel that we should be awake. Perhaps that moment is not a flaw in our body. Perhaps it is just a very distant echo from the past, a souvenir from hundreds of thousands of years of living next to the fire, a time when night was not just darkness. Night was a part of being human. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this episode. If you too have had the experience of waking up in the middle of the night, write to us in the comments section. Until the next video, stay in peace.